I know you're all tough guys. Seen it? Done it? Know it all. And who does this dude think he is anyway, right? Coming in here telling us stories about his youth. Hey man, that's history, right? That's ancient history. At least that's what I thought when I was your age. And I was your age once. What the hell, I'm going to tell you this story anyway. It's about a guy named Johnny. He might remind you of someone you know. When I first met Johnny, I was in a bathroom brushing my teeth. I heard a sound coming from the living room. Still in my boxer shorts, right? Boxer shorts? You know, they're good for the sperm count. You wouldn't know about that. I was still in my boxer shorts and toothbrush in hand. I crept to the living room just in time to see this guy pulling our TV out the window. I yelled, "Hey!" The guy dropped the TV, luckily, on the sofa, and scoots out the window and runs down the fire escape. By the time I get there, he's already 3 flights down, hits the street. I look down at him and I yell, "Hey!" He looks up at me and he smiles. I was 13 at the time, and Johnny was a couple of years older than me, a neighborhood kid, right? I'd see him sometimes in the street, and I tried looking mean. He just laughed at me. But somehow, somehow we hit it off, and we became friends. Johnny was like Mr. Popular. I mean, Johnny knew everybody, and everybody knew Johnny. Johnny was always loaded, man. He always had money, this guy. And when most of us were jacking off, just dreaming of girls, Johnny be banging them left and right. He's a good-looking kid, and he knew it. One day he came to me and said, "I'd like a job at the market." So I talked to, I was working there part-time after school, and I talked to the manager, and I got him a job. So Johnny was sweeping up, right? There goes Johnny sweeping up and down the aisles. It's his job, right? And what he'd be doing? He'd be following the girls, picking them up. Or sometimes he'd be doing the bagging, right? So when he goes, as he helped them out to the lot, he'd be making out with them. Like I said, he didn't need that job. He did not need that job. He always had money, this guy. I remember one time he invited me up to his house for dinner. So as I was walking in, I noticed that he takes a big wad of cash, right? Big wad of cash, and he hands it to his mom. Now she takes this. Now she had to know that this didn't come from any job in a supermarket. But she took it, right? She doesn't say, boo. He had a sister, right? But I don't know. Never heard a word from her. Now his dad, right? Now his dad was this big, gruff bear of a man, right? He didn't say much either. But he was always available to smack Johnny around, whether he needed it or not. As we were leaving, I noticed that all the doors had locks on them. Apparently, Johnny's family didn't trust him any more than anybody else. As we started to hang out, he started to teach me some of the ropes. He actually took me in on a few break-ins. I was scared shitless. I was too afraid to tell him. One day, we walked into an Italian restaurant. Actually, it was a pizzeria. And there was a couple of girls that were sitting in a booth, you know, and they spotted Johnny, right? And they start murmuring, giggling, whatever, you know. So as we're sitting down in our booth, Johnny accidentally knocks over the salt shaker with his elbow, right? So, you know, hits the ground. So one of the girls thinks this is funny. So she starts laughing. I mean, now Johnny sees this and gets all indignant, you know, and he says, "What are you laughing at?" Now she gets all red, you know. Then he takes a salt shaker and actually throws it at them. Now the girl, like, she gets real shook up and she starts apologizing profusely. And he gives me a wink and says, "Come on, let's go." So we get up, go over, sit down in the booth, sit down, start to eat, talk. Johnny's doing most of the talking, and of course he charms the pants off them, right? And after he gets their numbers, he tells them we got to go. So as we're out in the lot, he's handing me one of the numbers, and we see this guy, right? He pulls up right next to Johnny's car, gets out, it's Johnny's car with his door. Now the guy sees us coming, you know, he knows it's our car, right? He doesn't say boo, he just keeps walking straight ahead, like nothing's happening. So Johnny says to him, "Hey," actually he says to me, "Hey, you see that son of a bitch? You see that effing asshole?" Now the guy stops, turns around real slow. Now this is one big mother. You know this guy does not take crap from nobody. And he says this, I remember real softly, he says, "What'd you say?" And Johnny says, "Yo, you big pig, don't you see I smashed my car?" The guy says, "I don't see nothing, wise guy. And if I did, what are you going to do about it?" I look at the two of them standing there. The guy moving his arms, flexing his muscles, Johnny staring back at him. I'm just glad the guy's not staring at me, right? Then the guy starts walking at Johnny. Johnny turns around, goes to his car, pops open the trunk, removes a bat. Then the guy looks at this and he starts to grin. He says, "What are you going to do? Hit me with that?" Then I remember this very clearly. He says, "All right, look, I'm going to make it easy for you." So he stands up, right? He just takes his arms, he puts them behind his back. He says, "Go ahead. I'll make it easy. I won't even move." I look at the two of them, big guy, Johnny. Nobody's moving. And suddenly Johnny hauls off and whacks the guy in the side of the head. The guy screams like he's dying, right? Blood spurting all over the place. He falls to the ground. Johnny looks down at him, moaning, groaning. Then he walks back to his car. Me, I'm petrified. I can't move until Johnny grabs me and says, "Let's go." As we're pulling out of the ladder, looking at the guy holding what had to be his busted head. And Johnny's saying, "You believe that effing asshole?" A few years passed. I was getting tired of just hanging around the streets, looking for some easy money, good time. I wanted more out of life, out of myself. I started to work. I worked my butt off. Got my grades up, got a few breaks, met a guidance counselor that actually gave a damn. And he helped me get into NYU. And I think you might know some of the rest of the story. By that time, I pretty much lost track of Johnny. Hadn't seen him over a year. So one day somebody's knocking at my door. I open it, and there's Johnny's smiling face. It was this girl, I don't know, I think her name was Julie. She had the hots for me. You know, nice girl, real nice girl, but not my type. She invited me up to her dorm, you know, so what the hell. Johnny came along with me. I always sat down, talked, listened to some albums. I noticed that Johnny wasn't saying much. You know, he just sitting in the corner quiet like. Then later outside, he turns to me and he says, "Why don't you take her out on a date tonight?" I guess out of habit, I said, "What you got in mind?" He said, "Look, it's a pretty nice stereo she's got. You take her to a movie tonight and there'll be something in it for you." I knew I shouldn't. But I guess just being with Johnny, BSing like we used to, just brought out the last bit of street punk I had in me. So I called her up. I took her to a movie that night. And of course, Johnny broke in and stole her stereo. Later, she called me. She was crying. She says, "How could you do this to me? I trusted you." I couldn't say anything. She hung up, and I felt like shit. Next day, Johnny comes by and offers me some money. I told him I didn't want it, but he insisted. I told him no. At first, he thought I was kidding. Then he saw that I wasn't. He looked at me as if I was a stranger, someone he never even knew. Then he turned and walked away. A few years later, I heard they found Johnny's body in the trunk of a car at Long-Term Lot at Kennedy. I wasn't surprised. But a part of me was happy. Happy because it could have been me in there with him.